Hello, everyone. Welcome to FinAid Fridays at San Francisco State. Today's topic is financial aid for our new 2026-27 Gators. So that's our new freshmen and transfer students. My name is Danielle. I work in the Office of Student Financial Aid, and hopefully you've had a chance to use that URL and or QR code at the bottom. Sign in, let us know how you heard of us, how you heard of the meeting today, and also get a chance to win some cool swag. You have to be live to win. So if you're watching this on the recording, try to join us next time live and you'll have a chance for the raffle yourself. All right, let's go ahead and see what we're going to be finding out about today. We are going to be seeing an overview of the financial aid process, and then we'll get into a little bit more detailed information about that timeline. We'll help you navigate your student center so you know where to find out all your financial aid and financial information. Will help you to understand your bill. If you're a student that's already registered for classes, you may see charges already appearing on your account. So we want to make sure you understand about payment deadlines and how to reach out to our bursar's office, who are responsible for a lot of that financial transactions on your account. We want to help you figure out how far your aid's going to go for the semester, for the academic year, tell you about some options when your financial aid isn't quite enough to cover everything that you need it to cover, go over some frequently asked questions. Then we will share out some financial aid resources and recommendations, other things on campus we might want to make you aware of that, could save you a couple of dollars or, just be generally a good financial hack. And then as promised, we will have Q&A time. That Q&A will be off recording. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to pop those into the Q&A. I am here solo today, so it is a little bit hard for me to speak and then keep an eye on the chat. But please let me know if there's any technical difficulties where you're not seeing my screen or you're not hearing me, and I can definitely try to regroup on that. But otherwise, let's save those questions towards the end. And all right, let's get it going. And welcome again for being here today. And let's start with that timeline. So, your FAFSA or your financial aid process is always going to start by completing a financial aid application. Those applications are either the FAFSA or the CATA. You don't choose which one necessarily that you're going to complete. Students will be completing the one that they are eligible for. There are some exceptions if you have FAFSA eligibility, but you want to forego your federal aid options due to having, parents that may not be legal citizens, then that CATA application would be an option for you. If that's a concern for you, you haven't completed an application, you can always reach out to us and we can give you further guidance on that. Hopefully, if you're a California resident, you are all well aware that the California aid does have a deadline that comes a little bit earlier than the overall FAFSA deadline. So the California priority deadline usually every year is going to be March 2nd. For the 26-27 financial aid award year, we were extended by one whopping day. So if you completed by March 3rd, then you'll be in good shape to be considered for federal, state, and institutional aid. If submitting for the first time after March 3rd, then you may only be seeing federal aid offers in your award. Every year you're doing your FAFSA, so again, you'll make sure you'll do it on time for the following years. Early in the spring, once you get information from us about your award offer, then we'll have you take some time to review that award or see if there's any other follow-up steps that you need to complete that may be appearing in your student center's to-do list. So if you weren't aware of that area, you may need to put some eyes on that soon so you can complete whatever item that our office is needing to settle or finalize your financial aid in time for the start of the semester. If you're considering loans, then we'll want you to be going in to take action to accept those loans in your student center or apply for those loans if you're going outside your direct loan offers. and that should be taking place here soon if you're planning to get that as a part of your initial disbursement. Financial aid, everything that's ready is going to try to disperse towards your charges on your account the week before classes. Our disbursements are always running on Wednesdays. So the first disbursement that we blast out as much of the financial aid as that's ready. Excuse me. Hopefully you can hear me. Didn't mute myself. Yes, we'll be getting out as much of the financial aid that is in ready final status on the Wednesday before classes start. So that's a higher level view. And then when we dive down in deeper about those specific steps, it is not too late to complete a FAFSA right now. So if you were joining and you were saying, hey, I didn't even know that I could do a financial aid application, you still can do the 26-27 FAFSA. That means that you're still potentially eligible for that federal financial aid, which includes the Pell Grant for financial students with financial need, as well as direct loan offers. Those would still be available. We always start rolling out financial aid offers early in the spring. So if you did your FAFSA a while ago, you haven't heard from us, you might need to reach out to see where that might have landed, if it got stuck, if there's something that's not matching up as far as your information and your Cal State apply and your FAFSA. But you should definitely, if you've done your FAFSA before April 17th, have a financial aid offer in your student center to review, checking the to-do list, accepting the loans. That's all going to be done in your student center, which we're going to be going through a walkthrough of that shortly. And then, of course, getting all that done in time to avoid any kind of disbursement delays. If there is a delay on our end, it's not the biggest of deals because, like we said, we do disperse Ready Aid weekly on Wednesdays. So if you're still working on something, you need some additional time, that's okay on our end. As soon as we get that completed, we'll be able to finalize aid and get that out. But most aid will be going out on Wednesday, August 19th. If you have more aid than your charges on your account, we would recommend that you go in and set up direct deposit so that way you can get your potential refund faster than waiting for a check in the mail. We will go over more explicitly the details, but the overall gist of it is your tuition and fees. You have an extended payment deadline until September 21st. And if you're an on-campus housing student, your deadlines are always going to be to make your monthly payments on the 15th of each month. So then this is for those students that don't have financial aid or your financial aid does not cover everything in its entirety. Financial aid will always go first to tuition, then fees, then your housing, then your meal plan. So again, there won't be any late fees at the start of the semester. Your potential payments are deferred until after financial aid hits your account. So we can let the dust settle, see what's left, and see when those corresponding deadlines may be if that's a balance on the housing and meals. All right. So I did mention that if you did your FAFSA before April 17th, then we should have already been able to provide you with an award offer. There are a bunch of you though that may have either updated a school code or submitted for the first time after April 17th. You may not be seeing anything. There's no, it's nothing on your end to worry about, but all schools in the US have not been able to import new FAFSAs or taken any corrections since this date because they're doing an overhaul of the layout. It's very technical, kind of boring information, but basically we need to wait for that to get into our system, uh, check for any kind of, uh, issues on our end, and then we're going to be resuming and bringing in any new or updated FAFSAs. So don't worry on your end. If you don't hear or see anything else from us by the end of the month, then we invite you to reach out to us to look for further assistance and see where things may be with your financial aid application. And then we're going to move on to remind our California residents that there may be an additional step that you need to be doing, and that might be to either create or update your Web Grants for Students account. So we coordinate alongside of the California Student Aid Commission to be able to receive your California-based aid. There's information that the school and the commission have to go back and forth to confirm. And part of that is involving you going and making sure that your account is up to date. If there's any action there needed, that you complete those steps, and that you, if you're a transfer student especially, or a student that maybe changed your mind and decided to, attend San Francisco State because you love fog and, you said you were tired of the sun down in San Diego, then we would probably need you to check back in and make sure that the school in your web grants is San Francisco State. So that way we can match up any kind of state aid like the Cal Grant, middle class scholarship. So we want to make sure your aid package is as complete as possible prior to the first disbursement. So you may have some homework here if you're a California resident. If you've never heard of it, then that probably means you might need to go in and set up that profile. Most of our transfer students come in from our local community colleges, probably already have a profile, but you need to probably change the school to San Francisco State, and then we can finalize your state-based aid. All right. So we mentioned a little bit earlier that if your financial aid exceeds your university charges, you're going to get the rest as a refund. That refund going to you, generally this is going to be for our off-campus students, can be used for all of your other educational expenses. So your off-campus rent, your transportation, books, supplies, haircuts, deodorant, toilet paper. Those are all the things, your cost of living. So once you get your refund, we don't ask for any kind of accounting receipt of how you spent that. Of course, you, as a student, we'd like you to spend it wisely. Don't go out and buy a bunch of shoes or video games. Um, but yes, financial aid is for those other off-campus cost of living expenses. The only charges that you're going to be paying directly to San Francisco State if you are not living on campus is just tuition and fees. If you're living on campus, then you are charged in addition your housing installments and any meal plan charges. There are mandatory fees, and those are keyword mandatory, but they do provide valuable access to some campus resources like our wellness center, the student health center, and then for all of our students during the semester, you get free Bay Area transportation through 9 Bay Area County public transportation agencies. So the main scoop is like basically everything around here except for the cable cars. You can take the Caltrain, the BART, the Muni, the Smart Train, Samtrans, anything there in the East Bay. All of that is free during the semester when your account is paid up with the tuition and fees. We always want you to be reviewing your financial aid offer carefully, making sure you're looking at that now. So that way, if you think something looks incorrect or something is missing, like, hey, I thought I had a Cal Grant, but I don't see it in my award. Hmm, maybe I should first go check my web grants, right? Make sure that you've got San Francisco State listed there, but basically, otherwise, follow up with us. Most of our job is to make sure that you have the financial aid that you're eligible to receive. So let us help you get that fixed. One of our most popular questions at all, every semester, every year is, why don't I have my middle class scholarship? Why didn't it release at the beginning of the semester? That's something we can't pay out until later. We need to report back your enrollment as well as any of your other need-based aid to the California Student Aid Commission. So we have to wait till we go past that add drop deadline in September, gather the information, exchange that back with the California Student Aid Commission. You're probably going to know your amounts before we do if you're monitoring your web grants for students account. But as soon as we have an accurate amount, not an estimate. We are going to plug those into your award offers for fall, and you will be notified by an automated email that tells you that your 26-27 award has been revised. Log in back in. If your middle class scholarship no longer says estimated, you're going to expect that to disperse towards whatever charges or to you directly if you have no charges as a refund, probably by early November. So for our on-campus housing students that financially didn't pay everything, this is a time that there'll be an extra infusion that if you have remaining housing balances by like for due in November, then this will help pay that down. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay, we got all those helpful tips. Great. For those students that have received scholarships, congratulations. We do want you to take a moment to review a section on our website with the frequently asked questions about scholarships. We do need those scholarships to be reported to our office so that we know how it can be dispersed, if there's, unit requirements, if it's supposed to be split during the whole year, or if it's designated just for fall. So we have to know the rules of how to release that money. And we do have a dedicated scholarship team. And so you can always reach out to them as well if you have specific scholarship questions or concerns. But congratulations. We love scholarships are the best way to fill your funding gap. And I have a slide there towards the end about how you can be a scholarship superstar in the future as well. So we'll get to that towards the end. Saw a couple more people pop in. Thank you for joining. We are recording this session. The Q&A will not be recorded at the end, but also just to let you know that if you wanted to log back in next week to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to find this recording then and there. All right, this section of the presentation is helping you learn to navigate the Student Center to find important financial aid and finance information. So I know if you've already attended orientation and you've done your registration, you've had access already to your Student Center. So for those of you that are still waiting to come up for orientation or doing a remote one, this may be, something that you'll be doing after you register is revisiting your student center to find all that information. So you'll go and get started by going to the gateway, which is where we're providing you that link there. And then you're going to click over here. This is what we call our launch pad, and you're going to click on the student center. In the student center, the financial aid and finance related things that you're going to be able to do are view your to-do list items with the steps on how to complete them, review all of your charges, monitor every transaction that happens on your account via your account activity. You, of course, are going to be able to view your financial aid, accept your loans, enroll in direct deposit if you're expecting a refund. So those are the highlights of what we're going to show you here on the next couple of screens. Starting with an overview to point out where some of these items are at. Some of them we do hide from you, like in this mysterious drop-down menu over here, right? So when you log in, this is of course a computer view. We do have a SF State app. That view is going to look a little bit different than this version. So if you're already on that one, I don't mean to confuse you, but this is what we see when we access the student center from a computer. The viewing the financial aid, this is where your classes would be here at the top. If you're registered already, you'll be able to see them. This is all your academic section, but the middle section is kind of related to financial aid and finances. This is where you would see your charges. So we know that housing has already added charges for the fall for those that are booked to live on campus, and those that have attended orientation and have registered will be seeing their full charges here in that section. If we go over here, we see the financial aid, view financial aid link. We'll go to that one here shortly, but I want to point out the mysterious drop-down menu here where you're going to be able to review what happens to your account on a, line by line transaction log. And then we have a charges due section. Charges due is going to tell you if you're like, maybe you're still owe something for fall and you've registered for spring and your whole total says one total and you want to break it down to say, well, what do I still owe for fall? I don't care about spring yet, right? You can refine by your semester, but it is also a running log of all the charges. I think that area is very helpful for those that are living on campus whose financial aid will cover some, but not all of their housing. You don't have to pay all your housing at once. Only financial aid will do that. But for those of you, the majority of you that don't have scholarships or extra loans, you may see that just grant funding will sputter out and you may need to be picking up housing or meal plan installments, November or December. So to follow along how much you're going to owe at that point after financial aid disperses on August 19th, I would come back and revisit that charges due area and you'll see the corresponding deadlines. Your to-do list over here, FAFSA verification task. That means the student is selected for verification of their financial aid information. When you click into more, we're always going to give you information and screenshots and step-by-step instructions of how and where to go to submit that information. For those of you that may have submitted that recently, we are just going to be resuming processing. Unfortunately, the pause that FAFSA had affected our ability to, process anything that we were asking for. So thank you for your patience if you've already submitted. If you didn't know you had something to submit and now you do, go ahead and get it in. We're going to be resuming processing all those submitted items here, hopefully as early as next week. All right, so that's an overview, but let's dive deeper into the View Financial Aid link. This one here shows a little bit more of the student view. The other one, I have to admit, the previous one, I screen capped from my own view, but this one here is a student view, so we can see things like enroll in direct deposit, where to accept decline awards, right? But I want to show you View Financial Aid. You pop that open, you're going to click on the 2027 year, and that's going to take you over to your award summary. So the next screen, I think I got it a little bit bigger so we can see it close up and to orient you to what you're looking at. Of course, the top section here is your overall award summary. Then it's broken down by fall and spring term. It's important to note that your financial aid is offered based on your full-time attendance. That to us is 12 or more units each semester. There are prorations that will occur to your grants. And as now also with loans, used to just have to take part-time. And now because of congressional changes, students do need to be in the full 12 units to access their full financial aid grant and loan offers. At the top, we do have a button. A lot of people will overlook this. It's kind of hidden up there. But if you pop that open, this one generates into a really nice letter format. A lot of people may need that for various purposes. They might want to show their parents' insurance that, they're enrolled in school so they can get a discount, whatever you might need. Maybe for a scholarship that you're, receiving, they might need to know what your cost of attendance is or your SAI. All that information is provided through that. So you can pop that open, print that to PDF, and save that copy onto your desktop or your device. And yes, anytime that we will change your award, you're going to get an email notification. For example, see this student still has estimated middle class scholarship. If you're receiving a middle class scholarship, it should still say estimated. When it does not, when we replace that one for fall with the actual amount, like this is just a placeholder amount, we will go ahead and email you. You'll log back in. The word estimated will no longer be here. You'll see your amounts there. The next Wednesday is when that aid would likely be dispersing towards any existing charges for the current semester. Or if there's nothing to pay, then that will go to you directly via financial aid refund. All right, the to-do list. So if you do have something, I just kind of touched on that earlier, but once you click into it, as mentioned, that you can click into the item. Keep in mind these due dates, they're kind of set by the system. No need to panic. They're always going to be set like just with a 2-week timeline. If you were sleeping and forgot to do this and you did it in November, yes, it means one, you wouldn't get financial aid in August. But if you, got things together, submitted that in November, we're still able to retroactively disperse any aid for the fall. But of course, we want to get that money towards your charges or in your hands sooner. So please take action to check your to-do list and keep an eye on it throughout the semester. Various things could pop up there from our office, from other offices like the admissions office here. But this item here with the FAFSA verification, just pop it open, read it. We've got some explicit instructions where to go. If you do have a verification, we're going to prompt you to go into set up something in a FinAid student form account. That's back here in your launch pad, right where we started with the Student Center. So if you do need to complete an item and you are prompted to go into this section, just note you'll have to register your account first. This information is based entirely strictly on the information as it appeared on your financial aid application. So here's the tip. If you're having a trouble setting that account up, your name is Jennifer Smith Kentner. Don't put Jenny or Jen. always use that full name as it appears on your FAFSA, and that should allow you to set up that profile, and then you'll be able to access the items that we need for you to complete and submit. All right, the account summary. We touched again on some of those things in that mysterious drop-down menu. This student has charges. This amount to me tells me, hey, they've registered for full-time in the fall. That's our total for students that aren't living on campus. And again, to be able to review your account activity, I call it the play-by-play, and then the charges due section. So let's take a peek at that. Your account activity, this person registered there on July 23rd. And they've got their full-time tuition, undergraduate California resident, and then we've got the mandatory fees. There's one of those fees. If you'd like to save yourself $2, you can make your way over to your account activity section and click on that opt out. And then your charges will turn into $410, $4,210. Housing's already added for those that have their housing reservations. So those just went up, I believe, last week. For students that are living on campus for fall and spring, you will have 5 installments of housing. If you have a meal plan, 5 installments of the meal plan each semester. Some places on campus have 12-month leases. Just keep that in mind because that means that you would have additional installments taking place over the summer. Mhm. Charges due section, again, the summary of your charges due, that extended due date here. One thing to note though, if you need to access your student ID card, you need to use that for the public transportation. You need to have your fees paid off as soon as possible. If you wait till September 21st, where you try to get on the BART, it's not going to be activated. You're going to try to go to the gym to go swimming. Your card's not going to let you in because it's tied to having your whole tuition and fees paid off. So by charge, details by charge, but we can also refine there once you're with us for more than one semester and you want to be toggling between semesters. If you have existing charges and next semester charges already showing up, then you can always go and see that there. And again, this is what we would like you to revisit. If you're a housing student and your financial aid doesn't go all the way to cover all of your housing payments, we'll want you to come back here. If you've got a payment due in November and you see an estimated middle class scholarship, we would say wait for that to finalize. That will probably blast down some of your November, if not all of it, maybe even into your December. So keep an eye on your charges due section. And here is if you are expecting a refund, where you can enroll in direct deposit. They'll open a form, whatever your bank account information that you want to provide. That will live there. If you ever want to change it, then just pop that open, change the account. But we recommend direct deposit for 2 reasons. One, it gets your refund in your hand faster than waiting on a check. And two, checks can go missing or checks can get stuck in the, Kohl's coupon in the mail. And then, you're going, wow, I really need my refund and I didn't get it. And you're going to check in with our bursar's office and they're going to say, great, we'll be happy to reissue you that, but we're going to charge you a $25 stop payment. That's not fun for anyone. So the way to avoid all of that in general is to just get yourself set up in direct deposit. Makes life easier for everyone here, for the student, for the bursar's office, and we get your money there to you faster. If you're thinking about your loans, you'll also see this accept decline link here. This is a note a lot of students will ask, do I need to accept my grants? No, grants are always based on 12 or more units each semester. So only loans would need to be accepted. I know it's tricky because it does say accept decline awards, but once you're enrolled, you should see all of your aid over there in the column that says accepted. So we want you to better understand your bill and payment deadlines. Sometimes students will see something called a cost of attendance, and then their eyes will get wide and they'll go, wow, is that what it costs to come here? Do I have to pay that by check? And the answer is no. You only pay your direct charges. And again, those students that are not living on campus, they're just going to be paying their full-time tuition if they're taking 7 or more units. Everybody pays the mandatory fees less that $2 if you choose to opt out. If we have any international students or non-residents, meaning maybe a friend from New Jersey in the session, just note your tuition price will include extra $471 per unit. So students that are living on campus, then your campus living costs will be included into your bill. That's your direct charges. That's what financial aid will always go to try to cover first. But that's putting the charges on your account, the processing of your payments, the refunding of your financial aid, all of that is handled by our friends in the bursar's office. Maybe you've not heard the word bursar. I probably never heard it before I was a college student, but it's a fancy word for our payment office. So a lot of the things that we work closely alongside of them, but a lot of those things they are also just responsible for, such as your fees, making the payments, processing your direct deposits, your, mailed checks, things like that. You can always take some time to explore their website. They have some good helpful deadlines on their webpage here under the academic year 2026-2027. And we're drilling it in just so nobody feels lost on this. Anybody receiving financial aid, all payment deadlines have been deferred until after financial aid has dispersed. If your financial aid does not cover your tuition and fees entirely after disbursement occurs, we recommend paying the remaining balance prior to the first day of classes, which is August 24th. If you choose to pay after September 21st, a late fee is going to be applied to your account. And just note that your fees need to be paid down completely for your SFSU student card to be activated. And again, that provides that access to the public transportation, the wellness center. So if you want to go swimming or climb the rock wall, go get some allergy meds from the student health center, your card does need to be activated by having your tuition fees paid fully. And if you are on-campus student and your financial aid does not cover all of your housing and meal plans, we want you to be checking out that charges due section so that way you're aware of what are your remaining amounts and when is that due. And for those with those pending middle class scholarships, then you also know the little hack to figure out that if you have an extra infusion coming in early November, then that can help to pay down any existing charges or remaining charges for housing, that you have at that time. Enrollment matters. So 12 or more units for financial aid, that's our full time. If you if you're registering for 7 or more units, the bursar considers that for full-time charges. But to get your full financial aid, including loans, you need to be in 12 or more units each semester. If you aren't, maybe you start that way and you say, you know what, I'm just going to take 9. I already got my financial aid and I'm just going to drop this one class and be on my way. Well, we will get that fishing pole out and we will haul back in 25% of your aid because you dropped, those 3 units. So just keep in mind that during the add drop period, your financial aid can go up and down based on the amount of units that you're actually in. Things do get locked in as far as your grant amounts after September 14th. So if you were trying to get into a class and, you forgot to add it and now you're trying to add it on September 15th and then you say, hey, now I'm in 12 units. I was in 6. You guys took back half of my Pell Grant and now I'm in 12. We would say, I'm sorry, but legally we can't give you your money because, well, it wasn't your money, but we can't give you that Pell Grant because that add drop deadline, it had to be done by that date. So keep that in mind, but your aid will if probably fluctuate if you're trying to add classes or change classes. Don't be alarmed. We disperse Ready Aid on a Wednesday. So if you started 9 units, then your aid gets pulled back and then you add 3 more units. That next week should be going right back up to that original offered 12 unit amount. Calculating how far does your aid go? So a lot of students, they want to, follow up with us and they say, well, is my financial aid going to cover everything? Well, it's not that difficult to figure out. What we need to do first is find out what is your expected semester aid? What are your grants? What are your loans? If you're accepting them, do you have scholarships that are pending? And for this reason, for this example, I would just say let's exclude any kind of middle class scholarship estimate because that's coming in November. We kind of want to know how far does your aid go in the beginning, okay? So whatever aid that's going to be ready to go out on August 19th, you take that amount, you subtract out your total bill. So if you're not living on campus, and you are just paying tuition and fees, that total per semester for our California residents is $4,412. So you take the big number, subtract out the other number, And then if we have a positive number, that's going to be a refund for you. If you have a negative number, then that means you're going to have a funding gap. And that's when you should say, hey, after financial aid goes out, let me go revisit my charges due section. If I'm on campus, it's probably meaning that I'm going to be picking up a housing meal plan payment somewhere either halfway through or towards the end of the semester. Remember, there's 5 installments per semester. A lot of the times, if you receive a full Pell Grant and a full Cal Grant, that will cover tuition fees and likely about 2 installments. So you may need to be making another payment in sometime middle of October or middle of November. So make sure that you do this exercise here. So additional homework for you. And then so that you're not caught off guard if you do have a funding gap, that you can take the information that we're going to be sharing here next and put that in your toolbox and bust that out if you end up needing it. So the first thing that our students can consider, of course, after grants and scholarships is their direct loans. So most students, when they complete their FAFSA, will see some direct loan offers. If you do have financial need, then you should see both subsidized and unsubsidized loan offers. We would want you to always consider a subsidized loan first. You say, well, why? They have the same interest rates. Well, the reason being is that a subsidized loan is basically frozen while you're a student. So that means whatever you've borrowed, there won't be interest accruing it on it until you've graduated, and 6 months after you've graduated or stopped attending, then that's when the interest on that amount of the loan that you borrowed would start. If you have to borrow both, then just understand that an unsubsidized loan does accrue interest from the moment that that is dispersed towards the charges on your account. Or if you've got aid that pays your charges, then that can also just convert and disperse straight as a refund. We want you to consider your loans first because you don't have to apply for them. You don't have to have a credit history. The government is vouching for you. They are offering those to you directly. Outside of those, there are some additional options. If you are under the age of 24 and your parent was a contributor on your FAFSA, they can apply for a Parent Plus loan. They can apply up to 20,500 for the academic year or your funding gap. So we always have to subtract out the aid you're getting, and then you're capped by your cost of attendance. But you can reach out to us to talk more about how that works if your parent is interested in borrowing for the upcoming academic year. There are private lenders out there as well. So if you have good credit or a willing co-signer with good credit, outside of after taking your direct loans, if you still need additional options, then we would point you to, our alternative loan program database. And you can contact a lender there direct with their information that we provide you there. Some of those companies have names like Sally Mae, Discover, SoFi, Earnest. They're private businesses, so just keep in mind that they are company making money off students that are borrowing from them. And when financial aid is not enough, maybe you don't want to borrow, maybe you would rather work, maybe you want to do a combination of borrowing and working. We do have a place to find listings for our on-campus employment. If you are interested in working on campus and you have at least a Pell Grant or a subsidized loan offer, you may be eligible to apply for federal work study positions. Some students may already see a federal work study offer in their financial aid. Please note that that award is contingent on finding a position and being hired for that position. We include it in your award summary because it has to be accounted for. But ultimately, if you're working a work study job on campus, they're going to pay you, based on your pay rate and your hours, and that would be through a monthly paycheck that you receive directly from the department or place that you're working on campus. Just in time for our next FinAid Friday. So these always happen every other Friday. 2 weeks today, our work programs coordinator in our office is presenting on working on campus, as well as some of our other work study programs like College Core or the Dream Service Incentive Grant. So come meet with our work study program coordinator next Friday. Same link, same time. It's our FinAid Friday, working on campus or learning about work study programs. I do see a red dot I'm going to take a moment here. If there's questions, we're going to be doing those towards the end. So Jen, if you want to hang on, we'll definitely reach that towards the end. So hang on to those questions, jot them down if you can. We'll definitely have time to return to those questions. So working, and then of course, there's also the option to work off campus if you're not familiar with our area. We do have a pretty bustling mall. I know a lot of malls and places are dead, but the one next to campus, it's pretty happening. Stonestown, it's got an arcade, it's got a Target, it's got a Whole Foods, movie theater. What's that? The game rooms, all of that stuff. DSW. So there's lots of opportunities to go check out what kind of places are looking to hire our wonderful SF State students. So working is an option that allows you to, meet your monthly pay costs through earning work income. Again, deadlines, I think I've drilled those in a little bit here at this point, but also just to reiterate, no late fees until September, right? So if you have financial aid, we want to let that financial aid pay as much of it as it can, let the dust settle. If there is going to be, a shortage of financial aid and the housing says, hey, you didn't have enough for August, they're going to send you a notice. Most students are not going to get any kind of late fee, I think, until like September 18th for housing or September 22nd from tuition and fee balance. Um, all right. So how about some frequently asked financial aid questions? These are the FAFAQ. All right. So something that always comes up, they want to ask us in financial aid is there an installment plan to pay for tuition and fees? There used to be, but there is not anymore. The bursar, they used to charge $35 fee to get that set up. But guess what? You can take your time and you can pay even after September 21st. The only difference would be that you would be looking at an extra $20 on your account if you chose to pay your balance off after September 21st. Do we drop students from classes? No, we don't. Not even if you still owe after September 21st. We only drop if you don't show up for classes. If you get a financial aid refund, can you use it for your off-campus expenses? Yes, definitely you can. If aid goes to you directly, we don't ask what you spend it on, but we do hope that you would spend it on your educational expenses to support yourself throughout the semester. Middle class scholarship, why is it still in estimated status? I think we all know that one by now, right? We don't get to finalize that till mid-semester. That same thing's going to happen in the spring. You're going to probably have it finalized at the end of March. Get that extra infusion early April. What's really important, I should mention this now, is middle class scholarship. If you don't apply every year by that March 2nd deadline, that's off the table. So definitely always do FAFSA at the beginning or your DREAM Act or in the beginning when it opens. That's always going to be October 1st. If you think you're missing your Cal grants, but you've been in your web grants for students, double check your school. Make sure that you've updated that or you have a web grants account. They're the ones that get to inform us that you have Cal grant eligibility. When we get the thumbs up there, we go ahead and plug that into your award. So make sure you're checking your web grants for students. You can monitor that throughout the semester throughout the summer up to throughout the semester and maybe even get a sneak preview of what your middle class scholarship amount will be. All right, we want you to know how to reach out to us. I know that's a lot of information we've shared, but if you ever do have a question or concern, get a hold of us. You can choose the way that you want to get a hold of us. The one thing I want to warn you right now is if you would like to do Zoom advising today, it is first come, first serve. Generally, after a FinAid Friday, our counselor on duty is, happy to get students joining, but it does get a little bit busy and there's only one person on duty. So if you do want to Zoom advise, I would say maybe pop on sometime early next week. If you want to talk to me, I'm usually doing Tuesdays. A couple of the upcoming ones I've swapped for a Friday, but you never know when you might find me on Zoom. Our other outreach team members are signed on to help students. We recommend Zoom for students that aren't nearby. Also, I think Zoom is great because we can share screens. So when you're saying, I'm doing this or I'm looking here and we're on the phone, we're like, but we don't know where you're looking and what are you pressing, right? So if you join us on Zoom, We can say, hey, log into that web grants account. I'll let you share your screen. And then basically we get to see what you're looking at. And then we can say, oh, click that one there. That's what you need to do here, blah, 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 blah. Right. So if you feel like you're stuck, you're not getting it, sign on to those Zoom sessions. And then generally signing on after two, probably less of a wait. We always do have at 1 o'clock. Students that are anxious to talk to us. So there may be a little bit longer of a wait time if you sign on then. Phone is really great for general questions. We have our awesome federal work study students that help us answer phones. They're really great for general inquiries, but see us in person at the One Stop. Reach it out to us by Zoom or email. You'll get in touch directly with a financial aid counselor. So if you do have an issue, let us know. We'd be happy to look into that further. And then just to highlight our upcoming FinAid Fridays, we talked about the Working on Campus, learning about work study programs. That's going to be happening 2 weeks from today for our students that are living on campus. I heard there was a big housing Zoom session earlier this week. Ours is going to be a little bit more focused just for students that have financial aid about how that all works with your on-campus housing charges. So it's a little bit more refined to just focus on knowing how far your financial aid will go and your other resources again to meet your funding gap. All right, we're getting towards the end, sharing out our some resources. We do have a YouTube channel. After this session is recorded today, it will usually appear on our YouTube channel within a few business days. So if you joined in late, you missed like the first part, you can always find us here in a few days with a recorded session. And just again, we will be shutting off the recording before the Q&A. So don't be worrying about that there. If you have questions, we will not be sharing that out on YouTube. Applying for scholarships. I think I saw a question in the chat, and yes, I do have a slide for that. So the word on the street about scholarships is they are the best way to fill that funding gap. But for if we're looking for them for the fall, it might be a little bit too late considering that a lot of the scholarships have deadlines, not just SF state scholarships, but a lot of the nationwide scholarships have deadlines that happen in late winter or early spring. There's some meetings that have to happen where people are reviewing the information and then going through the notification process. So ideally, with scholarships, they always want students to know with plenty of time to do their financial planning. So it means that you know students have usually already been finding out here in May and June, early July, whether they are going to be receiving those scholarships. But if you'd like to get yourself all pumped up for next year, next scholarship season, we have a great video on our YouTube channel. We got a superstar scholarship recipient last semester. Frankie, he had 4 scholarships that he got just for the spring semester. What we did was just pick his brain. You know, how did you find them? How did you organize your information? What made you stand out? Do you think in the application process? What are these tips? You know, all the things that we would love our students to be knowing about. We're sharing them directly via a student who is very successful at his scholarship search. So take a moment to take note of that, but it is on our YouTube channel. So if you get there, you should be able to find that link as well. All right, other campus financial resources and support. So we do also work closely alongside a department called Basic Needs. Basic Needs also has Gator Groceries, which is an on-campus food pantry program. Their office also, go pop by. They have free snacks and toiletries. If you're a parent with an infant, they have diapers and formula. So they have things that can help, you know, if your budget is tight and you go over to Target and you say, "Oh my dear, they're charging $11 for deodorant." I would say go, you know, swing by Basic Needs, see what they have. Maybe they got something there that will save you a few bucks, and you know, go into your pocket to not go into Target's pocket, right? They also will have emergency housing, meal assistance as well, so you can reach out to them if you do find yourself in an emergency situation. Another option for students who may need some money in their hands pretty fast, I always joke that financial aid can be pretty slow. You might need your loans, but we say, well, then you have to do this step here, and then you have to wait for disbursement on a Wednesday, right? There are students that do face emergency situations that need to get some money fast in their hand. There is a department on campus, the Financial Services Department. They will allow you to borrow up to $500, no interest for the first 30 days with just a $5 application fee. You apply, and they usually can have money in your hands on campus in about 3 to 4 business days. You go pick it up straight from them and repay in 30 days. Otherwise, interest does start kicking in. Some frugal gator tips. Maybe you're taking a sneak preview at the ones I got there at the bottom, but let's just take a deeper look at some of those suggestions. Why is studying abroad a frugal gator tip? Well, California can be an expensive place to live. Perhaps you might want to be going abroad to a lower cost of living location. The hack is that you're paying the same tuition, your financial aid can go with you. And if your cost of living is lower, then your financial aid goes farther, right? There's also scholarships out there for our students, and you can go abroad as early as your sophomore year. You can study anywhere from 1 to 4 semesters abroad. Just want to pick a location based on an academic goal, like your major, your minor, language learning program, or GE. Borrow books. Let's give a shout out to our people over in Associated Students Project Connect. They have a book loan program. Books are probably expensive. It's been a while since I had to buy books, but if you want to avoid at least buying all your books, take a look at their book loan program and reach out to them if you have further questions. And not every class is going to ask you to have materials, but if that's a concern of yours, there is a way to search in our class schedule by an attribute. So in the schedule, you'll look towards the very bottom and go use that drop down to find zero cost course materials. That's going to bring up a list of the courses that don't require any kind of additional fees towards attending or enrolling in that class. All righty, so let me just remind myself before we go and visit the Q&A that I'm going to stop this recording. We definitely can have y'all ask your questions too as soon as I take a look at the Q&A. Let me stop that.